What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is day 21 of all Imperial Beer Theme Month here on the channel. And the beer I'm reviewing today once again comes from the Surly Brewing Company, and they are out of both Minneapolis and Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And this is their barrel-aged darkness, and this is the 2022 vintage. So this is a Russian Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels. It comes in at 12% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review. This can is exactly 3 years old. So, full disclosure, I have never had this one before or the base darkness, but the base darkness is a bucket list beer of some sort for me. I first heard about it probably in the mid-2010s. And I've always wanted to try it. I have never seen the regular base darkness here in the Buffalo, New York area. However, back in 2023, we started getting Surly, and this showed up, and I think the 2023 version did as well, maybe the 2024, but I actually picked this up, the 2022 vintage, in the summer of 2023. So when I bought it, it was already like a year and a half old. I put it in my darker beer fridge, kind of forgot about it, and doing the whole Imperial Beer Theme Month, I was like, man, I have that beer. Maybe I should bust it open this month. And then I looked at the can down date and I'm like, we are going to review it exactly 3 years old. So that's what we're doing. So this is a big Russian Imperial Stout. They age it in bourbon barrels. They specify that it's Elijah Craig 12-year barrels. And outside of that, I have no idea what to expect, but hopefully it's delicious. I really like Surly, and this beer, again, the base is a bucket list beer. This kind of, I guess, at this point. So we are going to throw this over here behind, and I will say that I felt the can, and I'll be honest with you, the can does feel a bit tight. So if this gushes or explodes, I guess YOLO. I'm going to review a lot of cellared beer in 2025 and going forward. However, I will open a lot of them off camera. This doesn't seem super tight, but tight enough where there could be some gushing. So if there is, we'll see. Cracking it open. Please don't gush everywhere. Nope, just a really good fill. All right, we're gonna pour it into the glass here, and hopefully I don't spill all of it or any of it, but you know, sometimes happens. We're gonna try to get a little aggressive because I gotta drink this entire thing, so we'll do something like that. For anybody who sees me lick the glass and goes, oh no, I'll wash my glasses. I wash my cans, I wash the bottles before I review. You never know where they are, where they've been, so I wanna make sure that if I do something like that, there's no germs. So just letting you know. Anyway, this is out of, again, my darker beer fridge at 54. So when I poured it, it looked pitch black. It's actually a very dark brown, like a root beer cola. On camera, it's gonna look pitch black for sure. Has exactly a finger of this dark brown looking head. Looks like somewhat creamy, a little bit soap sudsy. There are some alcohol legs for sure. Not sheets, but I could definitely see them as I swirl it up. Yeah, it plays the role of a Russian Imperial Stout that is barrel-aged for some amount of time. I'd imagine probably close to a year that I would say they probably aged for a year or close to it. But yeah, it looks great. Let's get a nose. Ooh, wow, what? The barrel is, and I guess because I don't review, or I haven't reviewed a lot of Russian Imperial Stouts aged in bourbon barrels. A lot of them are just Imperial Stouts. The Russian Imperial Stouts to me are always, they have more bitterness. They have more of an oomph. It's just more. That's been my personal experience with Russian Imperial Stouts as opposed to like American Imperial Stouts or other Imperial Stouts. And this just smells super intense in the nose. That barrel is very like spicy, sweet. There's vanilla, there's oak, there's spice. There's a big like caramelized sugar note. But then underneath it, I'm getting like a very dark malt, like a dark chocolatey kind of malt. There's chocolate here, dark chocolate for sure, probably like a 40-50% cacao bar, a little bit of coffee, and again, that roasted malt quality is unmistakable. There's almost like a grapey kind of, like a black grape or a purple grape. Because it's fruity, but it's not that typical sweet dark cherry into, you know, plum, fig, raisin, a bunch of, you know, dark fruits like that. It's more of, again, that grapey kind of aroma. There's a touch of like a black licorice, maybe even like a leather. This is definitely a combination of the barrel dominating, but then as it's opening up and I'm taking more whiffs and whatnot, the base Russian Imperial Stouts come to the forefront, which I enjoy. It doesn't smell boozy, it just smells intense. But it's not like, even with that barrel being there, it's not that boozy. It smells awesome. All right, got to prepare myself. Lock in Yosef. Here we go. Anyway, cheers, everyone. Yeah, it's delicious. Delicious. Ooh. This is a fun beer. But not fun in like some recent beers that I reviewed, like Life Jacket from Revolution, where I was like, oh, that's fun. That's weird. That's strange, but it's delicious. Like, I didn't know what I was drinking. You know, a huge barrel, bourbon barrel aged English barley wine with like a bunch of tropical fruits. It was just so strange. This is fun and different in that I've had this flavor plenty of times in my life, but it just has a little bit of like just a slight difference that sets itself apart from a lot of other barrel aged beers that I even had this month to date. Buying this is full body, but it's not syrupy, it's not thick, but it's viscous enough to say, hey, yes, that is full body for a 12% barrel aged Russian Imperial Stout. Like, it's not a bit thin. A lot of times I always bit thin, touch thin. No, it's not. It's perfect for what it needs to be, but it's not over the top, I guess is the best way to explain it. The mouthfeel, it has a beautiful, like, silky, velvety kind of smoothness on the palate. It has a mild to moderate carbonation, more approaching moderate, has a decent carbonation. So, 3 years in the can, it's still fine from that aspect. It just doesn't have like a huge softness or any kind of like creaminess, but it's so velvety smooth on the palate. It's like ridiculous. There is a huge warming in my chest. So it's not overly boozy or anything, but it definitely is lighting up my chest right now, into my stomach. Very warming in this from the neck down. So yeah, the alcohol is not hidden, but there's not like a huge astringency or something on the palate from the booze. It's noticeable, but it's more noticeable in the chest. So right up front, everything I said in the nose, it has almost like a deeply roasted malt. I'm not going to say charred or burnt, but deeply roasted. There's a 40-50% like cacao bar kind of chocolate note. There's a medium roasted coffee. That grape character is definitely there. And again, it's like a black grape. It just has kind of more of that, like almost like a Concord grape. It's something like that, but it's not huge, but it's noticeable. That's at the forefront. There's underlying caramel and toffee and molasses and brown sugar and all types of things. A touch of black licorice as well. That leathery note is more on the finish, which we'll talk about momentarily. But yeah, the first half of the palate is just a malt explosion. The second half of the palate for me, though, is where the barrel hits. And it hits pretty early, maybe like, 2/5 of the way through the palate. Like, it transitions right from all that, malty base stout characteristics into a big barrel character. This is a heavy, almost dominating barrel character because, as I said, the forefront is definitely the base beer. But what happens is the barrel comes in and kind of pushes everything to the side. It just kind of dominates. Vanilla, oak, leather, a touch of tobacco. There is also there's a huge spiciness. I like to default to like a spicy kind of, bourbon or whiskey. This has a spice that's almost like, yeah, you could say peppery. I'm saying more like a cinnamon, something that has a little bit of like a zip, kind of like something different. And I'm not saying they're straight baking spices, and there's no baking spices in here, or pumpkin spices, or winter warmer spices, but it has that kind of feeling where if you said cinnamon, or even something like an allspice, I'd be like, all right. Yeah, the vanilla, the oak, the barrel itself, the spiciness, that leather tobacco. This is an extremely complex beer. Like one of the most complex beers that I've reviewed this month, without question. But it works. The barrel dominates on the second half, but I like that you still get the base beer, because what happens a lot of times with barrel-aged beers is one or the other dominates. Whether it's the base beer just takes over and you don't get enough of the barrel, maybe because they haven't aged it as long or whatever the case may be, or sometimes the barrel just completely dominates and the base beer is lost. This has a beautiful, cohesive kind of harmony to it, where I get the base beer up front, I get the barrel aging on the second half, and then on the finish they kind of meld together. So This is awesome. This is a great beer. It's semi to full on dry. It has a nice moderate bitterness. What I like about this one is while it's rich and decadent and super complex, it is not crazy sweet, which, you know, sometimes these do become quite sweet, but in the taste, no. Again, on the finish as well, there is a slight astringent booziness. It's, dare I say, hot. It has just a, maybe the spiciness is mixing in with the alcohol blast and just kind of giving me a slight ethanol kind of characteristic on the back end. I can even like feel it through my nose, my nasal cavity. It's really nice. It has a, again, that moderate bitterness with that dryness really balances out all of the sweet goodness. But like I said, because the base is a Russian Imperial Stout, I'm expecting that bitterness. And then at the forefront, that deeply roasted malt with the 40-50% cacao bar, medium roasted coffee, all of those characteristics aren't super sweet to begin with. So this isn't a, I say rich and decadent, but not from the aspect of it's super sweet. It's not cloying, not even remotely in that vicinity. It's just delicious. Bourbon barrel-aged Russian Imperial Stout. It has held up extremely well. I don't know how this was fresh, but like if I was drinking this fresh, I'd be like, yeah, this is delicious. And I'm drinking this exactly 3 years old, and guess what? It's still delicious. I'm very happy I picked this one up. We'll talk about the price point momentarily, but the price point's a bit wonky, but for what I'm drinking, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, you know, that was a terrible price to pay. It's pricey, and it's one of these beers where maybe I'll buy a can of it when it's released. Like if they release the 2025 this month or next month and it shows up here in a couple months, I'll buy the 2025, throw it into my darker beer fridge and try to review it by the end of the year. Because I'm done with like trying to cellar and age beer. I have so many beers. Like I said, we're going to get Viewer's Choice Cellar Sunday off the ground this year. And I have so many beers I got to go through. So I don't want to add to my cellar when it's not necessary. But when I pick something like this up, I'm going to drink it, you know, relatively fresh and not age it. But I am not upset that I aged this one, just be honest with you. So not much more to say about it. There is, as I'm sitting here talking to you, I've drank, you know, whatever, 3, 4, 5 ounces of this. My stomach's on fire. And this is the second time this month where my stomach has, you know, basically been very warm into the hot range where there's a huge like fiery sensation in my stomach, almost like I ate like, you know, some kind of hot food. So 12%, the alcohol is not hidden whatsoever, and that's the one knock against this beer. I'd say the one knock is the alcohol, and that's pretty much it. Outside of it, this is a fucking very tasty beer. So I'm going to give Barrel Aged Darkness the 2022 vintage from Surly, and the artwork on this is, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, they do say on the side here, the artwork is the 2022 art, because I think each year they might get a different artist, is by Justin Burko. So shout out to him on, like, I'm a huge sucker for the black and like gold color scheme. And then you throw a label on like this, and yeah, man, that's pretty damn sweet. It's damn sweet. Once I get my new camera going, you'll be able to see something like this a little bit better, but you can just look pictures of this up online. They have the dragons on there. Yeah, this is a sick label. Like, this is so nice. I don't know, do it. So let me do rating here. Rating. Oh boy, I don't know where to go. Low 4.75. I'll go 4.65. This is phenomenal. It really is. Like, I cannot stress how good this beer is. I don't know how the 2023 or the 2024 or the upcoming 2025 or any of the prior vintages, I have no idea, but this is fantastic. If you have cans of this in your cellar, in your fridge, whatever, crack them open. This is drinking so well right now. I'm shocked. I shouldn't be, because Surly makes some good beer, but I am. Anyway, price point and availability. So I talked about the price point being a little bit wonky. Now here in New York State, everything's more expensive. Even in Western New York, where the cost of living is better, if you're in Buffalo, Rochester, and whatnot, we still get fucked, for lack of a better word, on a lot of things. And beer is one of them. This single bottle at the place I bought it at was $18.99 when I grabbed it. So $19 for a 16 fluid ounce can. That's over the $1 per ounce limit I'd like to pay. I did look online, and it seems like a typical can of this in the last 3-4 years, depending on, I think it's very similar for all of the vintages, usually between like $14 to $17. So we're paying upwards of $5 more here in the Buffalo, New York area. Would I buy this again at $19 a can? Yes, but only to try the new vintage. I don't think I'd go, even though this is delicious, I don't think I'd go back to this specific vintage for the price point. It's almost $20. it's tough. It all depends, right? It all depends. Like I talked about like Grow. This would be a longer review, but all my reviews are longer. I don't know why I ever say that. The Grow Brewing Company. I feature them on Western New York Wednesday, one of my favorite Western New York breweries, but they're now in Utica, so not really Western New York, but kind of, we'll just say one of my favorite New York State breweries. They put it their Dormancy, which is a bourbon barrel aged barley wine. They did a base. They did a couple different variants. 16.9 fluid ounce bottle, $18, $20. So what's the difference between the two? Nothing. I just think like the bottles are more fancy and it just makes me feel like I should pay more. I would say under 20 bucks a can, I'm okay with it, but I'd like to see this more around that $15, $16, like $1 an ounce. Availability, I don't know with Surly. Hopefully they have a beer finder. This is released once a year. Pretty sure it's released in the January, February, like late winter kind of, or middle of winter, late winter. But here in the Western New York area, I think I've seen the 23 and 24. So we do get this because we do get some Surly stuff here and there. So be on the lookout for this if you're local here in the Buffalo, New York area. If not, if you get Surly, you might see this, you might not. I think at the end of the day, this is a damn good beer. My only gripe is that it is very, very boozy. And you know, it's tough to hide that at 12%. Some breweries do it, but the barrel's intense, the base beer is intense, the beer as a whole, the whole experience is intense. So if you've had this one before, comment section, I'd love to hear from you, whether it's a prior vintage or a vintage that they released after this. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. And at some point, I hope to get a chance to try Darkness, the base non-barrel aged Darkness. I think like when they released this one, they like the cans like black and red, I think. But I just want to try out the base Russian Imperial Stouts because I love Russian Imperial Stouts going back to like old Rasputin from North Coast. Is one of my favorites of all time. But there are so many out there that a lot of breweries don't even call them Russian Imperial Stouts with everything going on in the world. But I don't know. I'm a sucker for Russian Imperial Stout, so I would love to try the base. Anyway, I'm going to shut this one down. Again, if you've had this one before, it doesn't matter the year, post a comment section. I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to go slowly sip the rest of this. My stomach's on fire. Yeah, we'll see how long it takes me to drink this, but I'd imagine a couple hours. So till the next one, cheers.